Hello, hello. How are you all today? I'm Bryan, Barron, the Director of Skincare Research from Paula's Choice Skincare, here with the first live chat of April 2022. It is April 6th, and I'm so glad that you were able to join me today, or at least there's one question in the queue so far, so this might be a short show, because unlike some of the previous shows I've done where we've talked about certain ingredients and how they work on skin and who should use them and how they work into a routine. Today's topic is what we like to call AMA, or Ask Me Anything. So I will be here for the next hour, maybe less. Again, we'll see how many questions come in for you guys to pick my brain about skincare, about makeup. You can ask me hair care questions if you want to. I do have a working familiarity of such formulas and just hair health in general, scalp health. You're welcome to ask me questions about Paula's Choice products, why we do certain things, why we don't do certain things, and I will answer to the best of my ability. But, I was thinking before the show that one of the things that I don't know if in any of my past live chats, if I have told a story about how I came to work for Paula's Choice, and I thought, it's kind of fitting because a mere 3 days ago, on April 3rd, which is also my husband's birthday, happy birthday to him, I officially passed my 22-year mark with Paula's Choice. So what started as an interesting venture with Paula hiring me to help her co-write the 5th edition of Don't Go to the Cosmetics Counter Without Me turned into this 2-decade plus career that is still going. I mean, I still love what I do. At its foundation, my role, as well as the role of several other people at the company, we work as a collective, is to make sure that you have the best information and the best products to help you take care of your skin, regardless of your age, ethnicity, gender, any of that. We want to make sure that you are empowered to have that information and have the products at your fingertips so that you understand what you're using and understand what results you can realistically expect. So my journey to this point began in 1999. I wasn't partying like it was 1999. Great album, by the way. I was working for Aveda, a company that I still respect. And it's been interesting to watch the trajectory that they've been on, because I started working for them shortly after they were acquired by the Estee Lauder companies, and they are still under that umbrella. And Estee Lauder has expanded them globally in a way that I don't think the Aveda as it existed pre-Lauder could have done. So that's great. And I had my annual review, and I realized, based on the feedback from my district manager, that if I wanted to advance with Aveda, that I would either need to move to Blaine, Minnesota, which is outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul, very cold there, or I would have to move to New York City. And I had just kind of gotten set up in Seattle at the time, and I wasn't interested in leaving just yet. I didn't want to leave Washington State. So as much as I enjoyed working for Aveda, it got me thinking about, well, what else is out there? And some of you may know, I was a fan of Paula in her books long before I started working for the company. I've always been a voracious researcher. I was one of those kids that, even as a teenager, I would ride my bike to the bookstore, park the bike outside. I didn't even have to lock it in those days. You just kind of expected that it would be there when you got back. And maybe I was either being ignorant or just got very lucky, or both. But I never had my bike stolen. And I would be in that bookstore for hours trying to solve my skin problems. And eventually that led me to discover Paula's books. I think at the time it was the second maybe the third, no, the second edition of Don't Go to the Cosmetics Counter Without Me. And, I couldn't afford to buy the book at the time. So I would go to the bookstore and, sit down and read it for as long as I could without people getting suspicious. Like, if you like the book that much, why don't you just buy it? This isn't a library, kid. And in fact, at the time, her books weren't in libraries, at least not in this area where I live. So I had a long-standing relationship and respect for Paula already, a long-standing relationship, I should say, with her information, because it literally solved my skin's problems. It set me on the path that I am still on today. My skin still gives me issues from time to time, but I'm more confident that I can tackle them. I know what to do. I know what works. I know what doesn't. I know when I need to say, skincare can only go so far, and if you really want to get this problem completely solved or solved to the fullest extent possible, you need to use your skincare and the appropriate cosmetic corrective procedure, whether it's a light emitting procedure, a filler type procedure, anything like that. So it's just been incredible, and I'm at this impasse with Aveda, and on a whim, I decided to visit the cosmeticscop.com website, which at the time, that was the main website that Paula was advertising. The product line was out in its infancy, so to speak. It was barely 5 years old at the time. And at the time, Paula was much more known for her books and for her appearances on national talk shows like Oprah and Sally Jessy Raphael. Who remembers her? And I don't mean that as a dig. I'm just like, does anybody remember her? Am I aging myself? She always had the red glasses on. But anyway, Paula made a name for herself nationally for her outspoken nature and for her books, and that is what I was drawn to. I knew she had her products, but I hadn't tried any of them yet. And I saw on the homepage of her website, she was hiring for a makeup artist / journalist. Well, journalism was my primary background during my college years. I've always loved writing and editing and whatnot. And I had been working in various retail establishments for different lines as a makeup artist for quite some time at that point. And I had been using her skincare advice and recommendations all along. So that was always kind of a fun part of working at cosmetic counters and for various stores, because I worked for a handful of brands that, yes, they were in department stores, but then they also had freestanding stores. Like that was my gig at Aveda. I was managing one of their freestanding lifestyle stores, as they called them, although ours did not have a salon in it. And I just thought, I'm gonna apply for this. I had no idea. I read the job description to my partner at the time, and he's like, that's you. That's what you do. That's where you have to. He was the one that kind of gave me that nudge, more of an elbow, and said, hey, dummy, you better apply for this because you will be kicking yourself for the rest of your life if you don't. And, here's this woman whose works I'd been a fan of all these years. I'm in Seattle. The company's in Seattle. And I sent in my resume and got a call back a couple of days later to come in for an interview. I think it was the following week. And I overdressed for the interview. I didn't realize what a casual dress office it was. And the team was, there was maybe 13, 14 people at the company total. It was very, very small. It was very much Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland, let's put on a show, meaning, everybody pitched in and did everything. You had your primary job responsibilities, but if you were needed in other areas, packing boxes, answering phones, cleaning up the kitchen, you just did it. And everybody did. It was kind of a fun little a family atmosphere with Paula at the helm. So needless to say, I had a total of 4 interviews over the space of about 4, maybe 5 weeks. And the last part of it, Paula wanted to see my makeup skills in action. And so she came to the Aveda store about a half an hour before we closed. And I did her makeup, like from bare face to full makeup. And I was told after the fact that, she never let other makeup artists do her makeup. Because Paula worked as a makeup artist back in the late 70s in Washington, D.C., and made pretty good career out of it at the time. She had a lot of politicians as clients, very, well-established D.C. people, who would have to go to special events and state dinners and so on. So that was news to me. I figured on all the talk shows she went on, especially because she had kind of become a seasoned pro at it, that surely she was getting her makeup professionally done, by these fabulous makeup artists, and that's why she always looks so good on TV. And I'm like, no, she did that. She never let another maybe they would powder her a little bit, but even then, because I've witnessed this more than once, she would pull the brush or the puff out of the other person's hand and do it herself, because she knows her face the best and she knows how she likes her makeup to look. So needless to say, that was an incredibly nerve-wracking experience, but it paid off. I was hired the following week, and I never looked back, and it's been a crazy, wild ride that is still going, and it's been more rewarding than I anticipated way back then. I mean, my initial thought was, how cool is this? And then quickly followed by, no more retail, no more weekends. I actually had like a steady Monday through Friday schedule that I could count on, and no more having to cover for somebody that called in sick or whatever, all those things that when you're a manager of a retail store, it falls on you. It's like people don't show up, decide that, okay, this part-time job isn't for me, and there are no call, no show, and it's your day off. Guess who has to go in? And, because somebody has to be there. So needless to say, I was happy to get away from all that, with all due respect to people who work in retail. In fact, not just respect, I salute you. Yours is not an easy job, and the people that excel at it are just cut out for that kind of work. So good on you. All right, we've got some questions that have had some questions accumulate. So I think at this point we can be off and running. I hope you enjoyed my little backstory. And again, I just thought it was so interesting that popped into my head to talk about today, because it wasn't preceded by oh, my work anniversary was just a few days ago. Anyway. So April wants to know, why was the Moisture Boost cleanser discontinued? It's the best cleanser I've ever used. I'm on my last bottle. Does PC have any more hiding somewhere? April, I feel you. That is, and has been for a long time, my favorite cleanser from Paula's Choice. And I have good news and bad news. The bad news is that yes, Moisture Boost was discontinued. We are phasing out that entire collection, except for the Moisture Boost Hydrating Treatment Cream, which will down the road segue into different packaging. So its packaging will no longer say Moisture Boost, but it will have the same. Actually, I wonder if that's been decided. It'll have a different look, and it won't have the Moisture Boost logo, but it's going to be, the same formula. So all of you out there who are fans of Moisture Boost Hydrating Treatment Cream, fear not. That is not going away, but sadly the cleanser and the toner are, and the Moisture Boost SPF product that we once had is not available anymore whatsoever. You can still get the toner on our site. So as our line has expanded, believe me, we have a lot of talks about how many SKUs we have, how many of those are really necessary, how are the products doing, and not just doing domestically here in the States or in North America for that matter, but around the world. For example, our Earth-sourced collection does really well in our Asian markets, but not so well anywhere else. I mean, the products hold their own, and I'm not knocking the products at all. It's just interesting to look back and see, well, which groupings of our products are getting more traction in certain areas than others, and then sometimes there's not a clear explanation as to why that is, because you just can't necessarily explain it, especially in the case of Earth Source, because natural ingredients, which those products primarily contain, more so than any of our other formulas really, because ultimately we strike a balance of synthetic and natural, We are not one of those brands that says if it's synthetic, it's awful. If it's natural, it's wonderful. There are good and bad in both groups, and our objective is to use the good to the best from both groups. Excuse me. So the Calm Redness Relief Cleanser for normal to dry skin is the exact same formula as Moisture Boost. And for the time being, that cleanser is still available. So you can get your Moisture Boost cleanser. It's just going to say Calm, I think it's Calm Restoring Cleanser. So that is what I've been buying to get me through until we have something else available. I also really love our Defense, not the Essential Glow. The Defense Hydrating Gel to Cream Cleanser is my other favorite. That's my morning cleanser. I used the Moisture Boost, now Calm Cleanser, at night. So yeah, the good news is you can still get that formula. It's just not going to say Moisture Boost. Gianna says, I did your SPF survey today. Does this mean what I think it means? New SPF on the horizon? We do. We do have a new SPF on the horizon. We are always looking at various opportunities for improving our sun protection options. So yes, and sun protection is so fundamental to our skincare approach that you can bet in one way or another. We are always taking a look at the latest research on UV filters, stabilizers, which antioxidants work best in emulsions, for example, and play well with UV filters, and on and on and on. So yes, it's always top of mind. We are one of probably a handful of skincare brands whose all of our preset routines include a sunscreen. That is a must-have product in any skincare routine as far as we're concerned. DK says, what are your thoughts on skincare devices like NuFace who promise to lift the face? It's been a while since I've been asked about NuFace, and my short answer is that if those devices were as impressive as they're made out to be, then plastic surgeons who do cutting and pasting and facelifts for a living, which is as much art as it is science, would go out of business. Because who would want to undergo that type of surgery and the recovery that it entails when you could just get the same results from something that you wave along your jawline, for 10 minutes every day. I'm not going on record saying NuFace does nothing, but I will say it cannot approach what cosmetic surgery can do. And I'm fairly confident. I'd have to double check some things to be 100% sure. So at this point, I'm going to say I'm fairly confident that what you can achieve from a device like NuFace, that was the one you mentioned, right? Am I saying that right? Yeah. Would pale in comparison to what a non-invasive procedure such as ultherapy that uses specific wavelengths. Is that the right word? Because it's an ultrasound heat emitting device that causes some contraction of the underlying support structure of skin. So I'm fairly confident you will get even better results from a procedure like that than you would NuFace. And if I'm not mistaken, NuFace, those devices are at least $200, $300, maybe even $400 or more than that. And that is for what you can get from ultherapy. As an example, which I would suspect in most markets probably costs about twice that much for a procedure. I think even though you're spending more money, I think you'd be happier with the results if you are, especially if what your concern is first signs of sagging. If the sagging is more pronounced, if you're getting the dreaded turkey neck, you're kind of seeing some jowling going on here. Surgery is really the best option to get everything back into place, but still have it look natural, because it's never the goal in that type of thing to look overly pulled. And we've all seen pictures of people Sadly, many of them famous people who I'm sure have regretted their decision to see a particular surgeon because they look odd. That's really the only way to say it. After their surgery, their face does not look like it used to, and not in a good way. Paula says, ownership of company. I'm not sure how to respond to that other than, as far as who owns the company, we are now part of Unilever's Prestige Beauty division. So Unilever is officially Paula's Choice's parent company, but we are continuing to operate autonomously. Basically, they're letting us do what we've always done, and they were drawn to us because of our success, the success that we've achieved by doing what we've always done. So it's been great. Tammy B, can we discuss layering of skincare, please? Should PC retinol be first before any serums and moisturizer? Good question, Tammy. It's important for layering to not overthink it too much. Putting on a retinol product isn't ahead of, say, another serum or like a skin brightening treatment. It all comes down to texture, and we generally recommend once you've gone through, the routine, you've cleansed, you've applied your toner if you use a toner. I love toners. You put on your leave-on exfoliant. Now, if you don't use your leave-on exfoliant twice a day, for example, obviously just proceed to the next step. But it's at that point, after that leave-on exfoliant step, regardless of whether it's AHA or BHA or PHA or a blend, then you start layering your treatment type products. So if your retinol product, let's say you're using our 1% retinol booster, which has a fairly thin fluid texture. So that would go on, for example, first, and then let's say the next product you use one of our serums, maybe you're using our Resist Super Antioxidant Concentrate Serum. That is more viscous and thicker, more classically serum-like than the 1% retinol booster, so that would go on next, and then your moisturizer, whatever that is, would go on after that. That would be like just a classic example of layering for a nighttime routine. If you're using those products during the day as well, then the last product you put on would be your moisturizer with sunscreen. Okay, but there's no contraindication as far as like don't put a retinol product on before you put a niacinamide product on, or if you're using vitamin C, never combine the two. Absolutely fine to do that. I don't like layering too many products all at once during the day, so I tend to have more of a minimalist routine during the day, and then I layer quite a bit at night, switching up what I use. So during the day, I only use a leave-on exfoliant once a day. I found that that's what works best for me, and not surprisingly, because I like layering less during the day, I skip that step in the morning, and I cleanse, I tone, I put on one of our boosters. Right now I'm using the peptide booster. I just finished the 10% niacinamide booster. I thought I'd go back to that for a little bit, and then I put on my sunscreen, and that's my morning routine. And then at night, I may put on two or three boosters, and then a serum, and then moisturizer where in my dry areas, and then eye cream. Actually, I do use eye cream during the day as well, underneath my SPF. It just got to be time, I much prefer how the skin around my eyes looks when I do eye cream twice a day versus just at night. So Cecile, I wear makeup and work 9 to 5, so reapplying SPF feels very unrealistic to me, and it is. Your feeling is spot on. Do you have any tips? I can't redo my skincare and makeup at my job. Exactly. And you know what? Unless your job involves you constantly getting wet, which I doubt, because then why would you be wearing all the makeup? Unless you're like a professional, water performer and you're wearing special waterproof makeup, but I don't think that's the case. So unless your job involves you being submerged in water for a long period of time, or your job is one where you're outdoors and perspiring heavily throughout the day, there really isn't a need to reapply your SPF during the day. The recommendation to reapply every 2 hours has to do with the amount of time you are outdoors getting exposure to UV light. If you do a liberal application of your sunscreen in the morning under your makeup, and even better if, say, your foundation or whatever tint type complexion product you use has additional SPF, layering SPFs can be very helpful. And you're not spending more than an hour or two outdoors during the course of your day, it's just not necessary to reapply. So that's the good news. You don't have to run to the restroom, wash your face, take all your skincare with you to work, and then do your makeup, and there goes your lunch break because you're spent all your time doing your skincare and makeup routine. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. However, if you are in that situation where you're outside, you're perspiring, yeah, I would want you to reapply. Absolutely. And maybe think about how you could acclimate or adjust your your makeup routine so that it's pared down a bit, or that your makeup routine involves several products that have SPF, so you're not necessarily washing everything off and starting all over. You're just touching up your makeup, but all your makeup has SPF. That's definitely an option too. Oh, let's see. DK, how much do external things like towels and pillowcases contribute to acne? Surprisingly, next to nothing. Acne isn't about skin being dirty, so there's definitely an ick factor to not washing, laundering your towels and your bed linens on a fairly regular basis. For example, my rule of thumb with bath towels when I'm at home is to use them no more than twice. So I'll use it like once to pat my skin dry at night, and then I'll use it in the morning again because it dries overnight, and I'll use it in the morning after I shower, and then it goes into the hamper. I don't use the same towel, for example, for a whole week. But even if I did, that would have nothing to do with making my acne worse. Even if you're rubbing, facial oil off onto your pillowcase or onto your towel, and then you're touching your skin again with it, or your skin to it later, it's not going to contribute to acne. And the bacterial transfer, it's possible to have acne-causing bacteria, to a little bit of it on towels and pillowcases. However, at that point, once it's out of its ideal environment, which is deep in your pore, away from air, it isn't viable anymore. So you may be able to detect it on a pillowcase or on a towel, but it is incapable of any action, pro or con, on your skin. So it just, separate from acne not being about skin, not being clean enough, there's really no concern of any significance with towels and pillowcases if you have acne. And that includes, sharing a towel with somebody who may or may not have acne, if your situation is such that that's what makes the most sense. Okay, that's a seal. We did that. Okay. Per Eric, why only one product for boys when there are so many for girls? Guys have different skin types too. You are absolutely right. And I was just having a conversation with our our Paula's Choice Europe team the other day about potentially taking the PC for men and just kind of moving it to the side, so to speak, discontinuing some of the products, and keeping the PC for Men shave, another personal favorite of mine, but making it a gender neutral shave product, not just for the guys. The main reason that our men's collection is so edited is that, guys just aren't as particular as women, generally speaking, when it comes to skincare. They just want something that works quickly, that doesn't feel like much of anything on their skin, and it doesn't. I guess another way to put that is that for a lot of guys shopping for skincare, it doesn't take much to make them happy, and there's, especially when you've got a well formulated, gentle line for men. because so many of the men's lines out there are problematic. At least one and often several products contain a series of irritating ingredients, particularly in the products that are meant to be put on just shaved faces. You know, you've got the menthol, the alcohol, the witch hazel, all of those ingredients, and peppermint and whatnot that just show up in men's line after men's line after men's line. And, you know, not surprisingly, you know, I've talked to my share of guys over the years who are just like, whenever I use skincare for men, I find that it makes my skin issues worse. And yeah, so I'm hoping that as Paula's Choice evolves and with our goal being as inclusive as possible, that we move more toward just a more gender neutral or all gender inclusive approach, as opposed to having separate men's products. However, there is that part of being inclusive where, in an ironic twist, you could end up being exclusionary, because on the one hand, it would be, I think, on at least on its surface, it would be great to say, this is Paula's Choice skincare, it's for everybody, regardless of your gender. You know, we're people and we have skin, and here are products to take care of your skin. But then what do we do? Are we excluding that segment of our audience that are like, you know, I'm a man and I want skincare that says it's for a man? You know, are we excluding them in our efforts to be inclusive? So yeah, still to be determined, but kind of interesting when you think about it like that, because, you know, to me, inclusivity means that there is something for everyone, you know, and nobody is left out. Okay. Tammy B says, Skin Recovery Moisturizer been discontinued. Has it out of stock a long time? That one has not been discontinued, Tammy. That is a raw material issue. We have had a handful of suppliers that have had difficulty getting certain ingredients to our contract manufacturers, which partner with us to do what we call scale up. You know, they do the big batches of our products, and then they fill them, and then they're shipped to our warehouses. That moisturizer, which is my mother is clamoring for, I swear she texts me every other day saying, is it back in stock? And I know exactly what she means. And I finally I said, Mom, I'm going to tell you this date one more time, and I need you to commit it to memory because you're starting to annoy me. So it's due back in stock at the end of this month. I believe the last date I saw was April 29th that it's supposed to be back in stock. There may be additional delays, so please, I'm not promising that, because I don't want you to come to the site and be like, but he said the 29th and it's not here yet. What? Did he lie to me? But just know that our supply chain team is working as diligently as they can, with doing everything within their power to make sure that we meet that date. It has been out of stock for a while, and there's definitely a waiting list. If you have not done so already, you can go to the website and to that products page, and you can sign up to get an email notification when it's back in stock. I've done that before for items of Paula's Choice that I use, and I've been bummed that I can't get my this or my that, and I sign up for those alerts too. And you know what? They're really good at emailing you as soon as it's available again. So, if you haven't done so, sign up for that. Okay. I remember her signature glasses. Oh, yep. Okay. Just catching up on some of the chatter here. Oh, this is a good question from A. Erkan. Which 3 Paula's Choice products do you go through the most? Not surprisingly, my cleanser, my Calm Redness Restoring Cleanser, that's had a few names. The Calm Cleanser for normal to dry skin, because I use that every day. Believe it or not, the one I go through the most in terms of reordering along with that would be our PC for Men Shave. And that's because I share it with my husband, so we're both working from the same tube. And then the other one would be our replenishing body cream. I love that body cream, and I've really kind of gone, I've gone at it full stop because this last winter in particular here in the Midwest, it's just my skin from the neck down has been unusually dry if I don't have something like that on there, and I just love the way it feels. What's another one just for, because I cycle through products and I alternate. We go through the weightless body treatment quite a bit. That's a favorite in this house. I've used it on my 7-year-old son, and I go through the Resist Advanced Replenishing Toner quite a bit because I use that twice a day, every day. I love it. So those would be the ones that I reorder the most. Okay, Batol. I've been using the Paula's Choice exfoliant for a while now, targeting acne-prone skin, but I can't help but notice that my fine lines are getting worse. How can I treat my fine lines the best way? I mean, our Paula's Choice exfoliant isn't going to make the fine lines worse. I don't know if that's what you're thinking, that you need this for acne, but it's somehow magnifying your lines. If that's a concern, you could certainly be more, don't apply the exfoliant in the eye area. Apply it over the areas where you break out only. Another option would be to take a look at our Skin Perfecting 2% BHA lotion exfoliant, which you may find works great for you all around or all over the face. So you could experiment with a different texture in that regard. You could also consider switching to one of our glycolic acid products and seeing if you can get kind of the best of both worlds by addressing and improving the fine lines as well as keeping breakouts in check. Or you may find, I'm just throwing out some suggestions here, that you can bounce back and forth between an AHA and your clear salicylic acid exfoliant for the breakouts. You may want to try that as well. And for all of those exfoliants I mentioned, we do sell either travel packets or trial sizes of them, so you can experiment with it without committing to the full size. Okay, where did we leave off here? Yep, good point, Cecile. There is a lot about men's skincare that is just marketing, because this is a case of marketing not being deceptive per se, but like I was mentioning earlier, there are, I would say, a sizable number of men out there who are interested in skincare, but they have this block about it having to say for men. They want that reassurance, much the same way I think the public at large likes it when a product says for face and for body, even though many body products can be used on the face, and of course anything you use on your face can also be used on the body because it's skin from head to toe. Thank you, Tammy, for the comment on my backstory. Sean asks, is Vana Cream Cleansing Bar good to use on the face? I'm not, let me take a look at that really quick, just to get a sense. It's been a while since Vana Cream is a small line of products for sensitive, more reactive skin. They have, I think they're known for being minimalist formula, so basically going on the concept that the fewer ingredients in a product, the less likely somebody with really reactive skin is going to be to have a reaction to it. Let's see. So I'm looking at the ingredient list. This is a what would be called a Syndet bar, a synthetic detergent bar. So it's very similar to Dove Beauty Bar. It technically would be considered soap-free. It does not have any problematic ingredients in it. It's going to be fairly rich. I wouldn't use it if you have acne-prone skin. But if a cleansing bar is the format that you prefer, it's certainly worth trying. It definitely looks to be gentle. There is no fragrance. It's under $5. I'm on the Walgreens drugstore website. I still think just in terms of those Syndet bars, they tend to be more on the emollient, creamier side, which is why I don't recommend them for acne-prone skin. However, if you try that Vanicream one, pay attention to the residue that may be left behind when you rinse. If you feel like your skin kind of has a coating on it after you rinse, I don't want you to wash your face and get it to the point where it's squeaky clean, where your skin feels like it's a size too tight after you've rinsed. That's not a good sign, regardless of what the cleanser is that you're using. But there is more of a tendency for these cleansing bars to leave a skin dulling residue. And your first few uses, you might think, oh, my skin feels so smooth and so soft, but that residue kind of continues to build up over time. And my concern is that it may impede normal skin cell shedding. You'll get more of a buildup of those dead skin cells. Your skin may take on a duller look. It just doesn't look as radiant and fresh as it once did. So those are just things to watch out for if you decide to try that product. Okay. See, we've got I'm just trying to keep in order here. Did we get Sean? We asked Sean's question. Sean's also asking my thoughts on hypochlorous acid for shaving irritation. That ingredient is really more of an antibacterial, antiviral, and to some degree antifungal. It's because of its ability to neutralize or kill those organisms. And that process isn't necessarily soothing. So I've only ever seen that ingredient in a water base. It's just very, very simple formulas to deliver that ingredient to the skin. And I've used it before, and I think I've mentioned that it has done a really good job. This has not been an issue for me for a while, but there was a period of time back in 2020 where I was dealing with recurrent bouts of athlete's foot between my toes, and the creams I was using weren't working very well, even though I was following the directions exactly. And the hypochlorous acid spray did. So I started using that on the regular just to keep things in check, and then I ran out and I haven't replenished. But on the other hand, I haven't had that issue recur. So I wouldn't say yes, use this for post-shaving irritation. I think there's much better ingredients out there that you could look to. Willow herb, willow bark, even salicylic acid, which is a natural anti-inflammatory. I think using that in a toner type product like the PC for Men Soothe and Smooth or our Resist Daily Pore Refining Treatment would be great. Okay, we have not had a question, or not taken a question from Mara. I often see products saying oil-free, but then they have squalane in them. Why is that? Oh, well, a few things. There is no regulation around the term oil-free, just like there isn't any regulation or agreement over what what constitutes hypoallergenic. I've seen plenty of products that say that they're hypoallergenic, but they contain fragrance, and then I can show you journal after journal from publications like Contact Dermatitis that consistently note that when it comes to cosmetics, fragrance, natural and synthetic, is the #1 cause of allergic reactions. Hypoallergenic. Yeah, right. My point is, because there's no regulation behind the use of those terms, anybody can use them, and it's the same for oil-free. Squalane, technically, though, is not an oil. It has oil-like properties, and it's a very good emollient ingredient. It's actually kind of a fascinating ingredient if you do a deeper dive into it. But if you are looking for something that is oil-free because you're concerned about breakouts and you see a product that has a high amount of squalane, Squalane has some fairly strong similarities in its composition to our skin's own oil. That is what makes it, or a big part of what makes it, such a great emollient for skin, particularly for dry skin, because when your skin is dry, your oil glands aren't producing enough sebum. So you put a ingredient like squalane or jojoba oil, which is even closer chemically to sebum, on the skin, and it looks and feels better, and the skin readily accepts it because it's like, hey, this is what we're running low on or don't have enough of. Thank you for giving this to us. That's, I'm assuming your skin cells are talking, which they don't, not in the sense that we think talking means. There is, side note, skin cells, particularly the living skin cells, engage in a lot of crosstalk. Signaling. Cells can't verbalize, like humans do, but they can send signals that other cells recognize and can respond to. And sometimes those signals are good, like, hey, make more hyaluronic acid, we're getting dry up here. Or they're bad, such as the microbiome being out of balance, and the bad bacteria, for example, is getting signals to propagate and take down the good bacteria, and so that balance of the pathogenic bacteria and the healthy bacteria the skin needs to thrive is thrown out of whack. I just totally get off topic there. So yeah, it can be a bit deceiving. If there are no ingredients in a formula that end in oil, one could make the convincing argument that yes, it really is oil-free, but that does not mean that it does not contain ingredients that act or feel very much like oil on the skin. So it's one more reason you need a resource like our cosmetic ingredient dictionary, where you can refer to that and just get a deeper understanding of what these ingredients, what their functions are, how they behave in products, and generally what results you can expect. TB says, I miss seeing more videos with Paula. Actually, I got to do a video with Paula. We did a live Zoom event talking about skincare with some influencers and beauty journalists. So yeah, I do think it would be great, and I think we will. I think it's in the works for Paula to do some videos down the road, particularly videos where she'll be discussing some of our upcoming product launches. Galado says, hey Brian, thank you for these chats. Question, are you planning to have an untinted mineral, non-nano zinc face sunscreen, 50 SPF? Thanks. That's very specific. You know what you want. That product to your exact specifications is not currently in the works. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, we're always looking at various sunscreen options and ideas and whatnot. And of course, we are big fans of the mineral UV filters, zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. MX Kruger says, I love the CBD plus retinol oil. Will there be new CBD products in the future? That remains to be seen. We're still tracking the research on that ingredient. I still maintain that it is a fat cannabidiol, or cannabidiol, some people say. There's a whole family of cannabinoids, CBD being the big one, but there's others like CBG and CGP? I'm missing one of them. It's escaping me right now. But they all play fascinating roles topically for soothing and calming skin and helping it back to a healthier state. I'm a little surprised our CBD products didn't take off as well as I thought that they would. But there were also some things happening that kept us from being able to promote the products the way we would a non-CBD type moisturizer. So as the landscape shifts over time and as more research comes to light on how to best formulate with CBD, we'll see. All right, got about 10 minutes left. Let's see if I can get to a few more questions here. Tammy, thank you. Skin recovery. Give me the date. Yay. All right, TB says, can you ask them to make Resist products larger? I love them all, but they are small and spendy compared to other PC products. I can certainly pass on that feedback. Ken, when a product breaks me out in whiteheads after using a few times, does that mean it's too rich, oily for me? Also, thank you for all the knowledge and advice. Really appreciate it. Whiteheads, it's interesting. Some people have what's called an irritant contact dermatitis when they use a skincare product for the first time or the first few times. And depending on your individual reaction, it can present itself as small white bumps, or flesh-colored bumps, I should say, because they're not always white. And it can be alarming. And especially if you have oily skin prone to clogged pores, the tricky part is, did you really react to the product, negatively react, or were these white bumps that would have shown up anyway? They were below the surface. They've been working their way, up, or maybe they're small pimples, which I believe that would be a papule, that have a flesh-colored head. They can kind of look reddish underneath, at the base of the papule, but they have a flesh-colored head. Those are related to, there's a strong bacterial component to those, whereas a classic whitehead or milia is more about the clog, the buildup of sebum, skin's oil, dead skin cells, and cellular debris, such as tiny hairs that are part of the pore lining. And just like hairs on other parts of your body, they go through a shedding phase. And if they shed and they can't make it to the surface and escape from the pore, they get stuck and they contribute to that buildup. So it could be that coincidence. It could be the product. The only way to know for sure, at least the most reassurance you can get, because I don't think you can ever be 100% on this, is to stop using the product you suspect is causing the problem. See if the bumps go away. Are they going away in a reasonable amount of time? And then you can reintroduce the product. And if the same thing happens again, that's a pretty good sign that the bumps are being triggered by the product. Something in the product just isn't agreeing, and it does not have to be a classic problematic ingredient. There are many of otherwise benign ingredients that some people's skin just can't handle, and that can be a mystery. So that's really the best I can offer in that situation. If you are prone to those bumps, though, and you find that type of thing keeps happening, my other piece of advice is to make sure all of the products, the leave-on products that you use, are as thin textured as possible. Just even if that means you have to layer a few hydrating products to get your skin to that level of moisture that you feel is comfortable. So rather than use one rich cream, you're using a hydrating toner and a hydrating serum, and then a lightweight moisturizer that has a thin fluid texture, because those types of textures, generally speaking, are less likely to cause those bumps. Okay. The Eerie Fairy, CeraVe has a hydrating facial cleanser bar. They do, and that, I believe that is a Syndet type bar as well. Cetaphil makes some. Many of those lines that are sold in the drugstore have such product, and they are for sure preferable. If you like your cleanser in bar form, they are for sure preferable to a classic soap, which is alkaline. It's definitely more drying. Soap is very good at cleansing, but most of us don't need the level of cleansing that a traditional soap provides. So what happens is they tend to over cleanse the skin, which strips it, disrupts the acid mantle because of its alkaline nature. Skin is naturally acidic. And all of those things can cause a trickle-down effect of inflammation and irritation that is very likely to give you a skin type that you don't want. Or make a undesirable skin type you may have now, like really oily skin, even worse. Okay, Roel, hello. Haven't seen you in the chats for a while. Does PC have a sunscreen in the development with European filters, and how long does it take for a sunscreen from scratch to market with testing and all? Greetings from the Netherlands. We do have such a product in the works, Roel, and how long it takes? Oh, that's a bit of a loaded question, because there's the sunscreens are the trickiest and most difficult and often the most frustrating products to make, largely because you're dealing with wanting to hit that target SPF, whether it's 30 or 50 or whatever, and then typically it takes the higher the SPF you're trying to achieve, the higher the percentage, the total amount of the formula is just UV filters. And a lot of the UV filters that are approved for use in Europe, here, Australia, Japan, just to name a few, they don't have the most cosmetically elegant feel, especially when used at the levels necessary to get to the stated SPF and to be able to ensure that you will get a broad spectrum protection label, that you can legally have that on your sunscreen. And that's, of course, what we strive for. We want to give you that broad spectrum protection, which means UVA and UVB screening. Not really good at UVB, not so good at UVA, because the UVA rays are present all day long. They're more insidious than UVB. They penetrate deeper into the skin and cause more pronounced damage over the long haul. UVB is more like UVB rays are definitely intense. Actually more intense than UVB, and capable. They're kind of like swift, quick damage, whereas UVA is kind of like the sun's silent but deadly rays. You don't feel UVA rays damaging your skin. You will feel UVB rays damaging your skin. Go outside in midday sun, especially in a sunnier climate like Florida, Hawaii, in the United States, just to name a couple of them, and you'll know just by feel when the UVB rays are more intense, and how your skin responds. So generally speaking, I would say it takes anywhere from 18 months to 2 years from concepting to completion of testing and whatnot to bring a facial or a body sunscreen to market. That is why many brands rely on companies that have ready-made products, what's called the stock formula, that you can you buy the stock formula or the rights to use the stock formula, and then you can put your brand's logo and call it whatever you want. Nothing wrong with that. The disadvantage is it's not an exclusive formula. These companies are selling whatever the SPF formula is to whomever wants to buy it. Whereas, just as one example, all of the sunscreens from Paula's Choice we own those formulas. We develop those formulas. Nobody else can use them. They are exclusive to us. All right, let's wrap up with MX Kurger again. PC should just launch a nicely perfumed cream in a jar next April Fool's Day. I've often thought, like, we definitely don't use added fragrances in skincare because of what the research has shown. Fragrance can do to skin, even if you can't see the damage, which is kind of interesting. But I just thought, it would be kind of funny if we did a Paula's Choice perfume, and then as a joke, and we sent it out to some people and said, "Here's our very first fragrance," and it smells like nothing. We would have to very quickly get them in on the joke, lest they be angry at us. So Anyway, that would be a fun April Fool's joke. So thank you for that. Thank you guys for all of these great questions. I love doing these Ask Me Anything shows because I never know what to expect. I never know what you guys are going to ask, and it's always fascinating to see what's on your mind. So I will be back 2 weeks from now. We do have a topic for that show. So this is going to be on April 20th, and I'll be discussing common skincare myths. So be sure to come back on the 20th, same time, same Paula's Choice YouTube channel, and let me know which skincare myths you are curious about or that you keep hearing again and again, because there's a lot of them out there. And again, I'll see you at that point, and take care. Stay healthy.